Hey weirdos, and welcome back to my channel. My name is EmmaAbe, and today I'm very excited to be doing the summer school readathon, or summer school book tag, summer school readathon book tag. I'm not really sure. Anyway, it was created by EmmaAbe Books, and I thought that I would participate because I'm bored. The first question is for the prompt language arts. Tell us about a book that you had to read in school. So I decided I would go a little bit recent with this. So this book I actually did not read in high school or middle school or elementary school, but I read it in college, and that is Behind the Beautiful Forevers, Life, Death, and in a Mumbai Undercity by Catherine Boo. This I had to read for my cultural anthropology class, my first semester of college. We had to write an essay about it, talk about life, death, and hope. That was very difficult to read. It was a very difficult essay to write because of my personal circumstances that I was going through at the time. This won the Pulitzer. This is really good. This book is nonfiction, and I really love the way it reads. It reads very fiction-y, so if any of you guys think that there is a barrier to entry into nonfiction, I would say case in point, there isn't. Yeah, and it follows all of these different families that live in the slums of Mumbai, telling you there are really freaking amazing moments in it, and then there are moments that will make you cry. All I can say is that I'm very, very glad that I read this when I did, and I did not read it when I was writing my essay. The author is a reporter, and she did all of the investigating, all the work that went into this book herself, and I think it was really, really interesting, fun, harrowing read that I think you guys should check out. Alright, so the second prompt is math, and that is, when will I ever use this again? Share a book where the characters actually use their math skills. This one took me a while, but I did find that is The Martian by Andy Weir. This is a science fiction book. I thought this was really fun. This book will just go on for pages about the calculations that this man does in order to survive on Mars. Yeah, so it follows this man who is accidentally left on Mars. And he's the only person there, and he has to figure out a way to survive and try to get back to Earth with the very limited supplies that he has. So there is lots of fun math in this. I really enjoyed it. I would also highly recommend the audiobook for this one because it's just really funny. There's some really, really funny deliveries in this. What I think is really cool about this one is that it is a really realistic view about what it would be like to survive on Mars. I really enjoyed this. Okay, the third prompt is science. What is a science book that you have read? The one I have most recently finished would probably be Darwin Comes to Town, How the Urban Jungle Drives Evolution. I Can Speak Today, No I Can't, by Minos Schultzen. And I don't actually have a copy of this one. I read it on audiobook last month. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really interesting take and look at evolution, because typically we think about evolution in being these large scale thing and happening out in nature. We don't really think about how urbanization has changed that, how many people living in cities and the majority of the human population living in cities affects how the evolution of the species around us. What's really cool is that it goes through case study after case study after case study, showing how the evolution of a particular animal has changed because of evolution. Also, I am currently reading The Neanderthals of Skeleton, Scientist, and Scandal by Eric Trankhaus and Pat Shipman. I'm only about chapter in, so only about that. So this talks primarily about the discovery of Neanderthals, but also goes into more of human evolution and human science. So if you want to know more biological anthropology stuff, then I would look more towards this book. And this book does not have an audiobook. Fourth is social studies. Share a book from your TBR that is translated or deals with government. I was very excited to choose this one, and I'm a little bit embarrassed about this one. am sorry, my friend. That is Team of Rivals, The Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln by Doris Kearns Goodwin, and this also won the Pulitzer. And this is all about the political scheming and the political maneuvering that happened, I believe, to get the 13th Amendment passed. It doesn't just talk about that, it dives into, again, the political genius of Abraham Lincoln, and it talks a lot about his cabinet and how he strategically picked his cabinet, because if you don't know, his cabinet wasn't full of people who all agreed with him. He picked people purposefully, and I'm really interested in learning more about that, because just disappointed myself that I haven't read this yet, because this is a very like quintessential book to read about Abraham Lincoln. The next question is exploratories. What are the extra non-core classes that you took most of in high school? So I don't really know. I took a lot of classes in high school. In high school, we had this thing called 8 straight. So we had 8 periods in a day. You could take 8 straight classes. So essentially you would, instead of taking lunch, you would take another elective. And I elected to do that all 4 years of high school because I'm crazy. Actually, there is a law in Illinois that says that if you are doing that legally, or once you get to your junior and senior year, you have to drop your gym class and then replace that with a lunch period. And what I wound up doing for that is just taking a different class instead. We have to take a language in the States. We have to take 2 years of a language. But by the time I got into high school, I'd already taken so much Spanish that it made sense for me to just continue taking Spanish, and not taking Spanish was like kind of weird. So I literally they ran out of Spanish classes essentially for not just me, but everyone else who was in my same situation, there was about 40 of us minimum. They wound up creating a whole separate Spanish class for us. They decided to add the class of AP Spanish Literature. So I took that. I took AP Spanish Language. Yeah, I took lots of AP Spanish classes. So I did a lot of Spanish. I also was very involved in music. I did lots of choir. I did lots of orchestra. I made it all the way up to chamber choir. I'm not that good of a musician when it comes to not my voice. I was just in like normal orchestra. I didn't really try and be in the chamber orchestra. It was just, so I played the bass, the upright right bass. Like, I also did a lot of coding. So I'm very fortunate that in my school district, we have, I think, 7 years of coding classes. It might be 8 now. I'm not exactly sure, because we have robotics, and then we have another semester class after that. So that's 1 year. Then we have 2 years of app development classes. So that's 3 years. And then we have AP Computer Science, which is 4 years. And then we have Data Structures, which is 5 years. And then we have a Senior Design, where you can do whatever you want. So that's 7 years. And then we have, it's a relatively new AP test they created. It's called Computer Science Principles. So that's, yeah, we have 8 years of computer science classes at my high school. I did mobile app development. That was my first computer science class. I did AP Computer Science, and then I also took Data Structures. So those are the 3 computer science classes I took, and those are really fun. Those classes are actually the reason I am a computer science major. I really liked it, and it was something I was good at. It's basically puzzles. That's all you're doing in computer science. 6, we have Common Core. Share a good pairing of a nonfiction with a fiction book. So I decided to go with kind of obvious choice that I've talked about before on this channel, because I don't like this question and I'm not very good at it. Because my thing is because I don't read a lot of fiction. So that's the part where I struggle with. I can easily pair nonfiction books to nonfiction books, like supplementary stuff, but I'm not very good at pairing fiction and nonfiction because I just do not read enough of fiction. I decided to go with the fiction book of Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, and I have 2 options for the nonfiction. One of the picks is very obvious, and I wanted to kind of not be obvious and give you like another pick. So the nonfiction, one of the nonfictions I chose is A Key to Uncle Tom's Cabin, that is also written by Harriet Beecher Stowe, and this is essentially the bibliography for this. If you want to know where all of Harriet Beecher Stowe's resources and all of her research came from, this is the book to pick up. It is Have not read this yet, but it is significantly like darker and more depressing than this one is, because reality is oftentimes significantly more darker and depressing than fiction. The second nonfiction choice I did is The Road to Dawn, Josiah Henson and the Story That Sparked the Civil War by Jared A. Block. This is a biography of Josiah Henson, who is the inspiration for Uncle Tom in Uncle Tom's Cabin. If you read Uncle Tom's Cabin and you're curious about more of the characters behind the story, and you don't really want to read the stilted 1800s language, then I'd say pick this up. This was written relatively recently, written in 2018. It expands upon Uncle Tom's Cabin and allows you to see insights into the life of Josiah Henson, but you do not have to read Uncle Tom's Cabin to read The Road to Dawn, whereas I think it is very beneficial to have read Uncle Tom's Cabin before you read A Key to Uncle Tom's Cabin. The next question is research what is the last topic that has made you seek out books so that you could read more about it. I would say the latest one that has sent me on a very long craze would have to be China, just in general, and I don't think that that is due to me reading any specific books on China. I think that has more to deal with my personal life decisions and my decisions for the future, but also the fact that I lived in China for a bit, and I felt like when I went to China, I was not prepared enough. I didn't know nearly enough the language. I didn't know enough about the history. I didn't know a lot about the culture. So in my ramping up to go back, I've decided to study a whole lot more about Chinese culture, Chinese language, Chinese history, so that I can prepare myself in the future. 8 is what subject area would you teach if you were a teacher? So I've been a TA, I've created curriculum, I've been a TA more than once. The first time I was a TA was when I lived in China. I was a TA for engineering classes and essentially was helping teach the intro to computer science classes. We called them engineering models. It was really computer science 101, so I was helping a lot with that class. I actually had to lead the class by myself for a week because of visa issues with the professor. And then I was also TAing for engineering statistics. I was TAing for semiconductor physics, also TAing for embedded systems. So some of those classes, like embedded systems and semiconductor physics, I won't be taking, I have never taken, so it was a very steep learning curve and I had to do it very quickly. I was also a TA for an IT summer camp, so we were introducing programming basics, cybersecurity, data, and apps, and creating games. Why I'm telling you all of this is because I think eventually I want to be a teacher in computer science. I'm thinking at a high school level. If I do teach computer science, one day it's probably going to be this weird circuitous path. I'm not really going the typical route. When I graduate, I'm not going to go get my master's in computer science education. Instead, what I'm going to be doing, and something I'm doing right now, is I'm going to be teaching English. So right now I'm working on getting my TEFL certification, which is the Teaching English as a Foreign Language certification. Currently going through the training. I'm about halfway done. Where I hopefully will be in 2 years' time is teaching in China or somewhere in Asia. I just don't really know yet. It's all kind of up in the air because of, not the fact that I'm going to be teaching. The exact location of where I'm going to be teaching is going to be more up in the air. Hopefully we'll know within a year where I will be going, and then I can start applying for jobs. And the last question is share a photo from your school years. So here's the photo I chose. It is I think I'm about 4 in the picture, so I don't think that I've actually started school yet, but I thought it was a cute picture, and it's of me holding a book. I actually have that book here. It is Modern Geometries by James R. Smart, and this is actually one of my dad's textbooks he used in college. In this picture, I cannot actually read because I'm 4, and I didn't actually think I learned how to read until I was in 3rd grade, which is a whole story in and of itself. But I thought it was just really interesting that I picked up this book. Yeah, and I didn't understand any of it, and I haven't read this yet. I don't think I will ever read it because although I love math, Textbooks aren't my preferable way of consuming and reading math and learning about math. I think that is about it for this tag. Thank you all for watching. Let me know if you have any questions if you are going to be doing this tag. And if you are doing the summer school readathon, let me know all of that fun stuff in the comments below. And if you guys are interested in doing this tag, then I'm tagging you. There you go. Great. Do it. All right. Good night. I need to go to bed.